Well, up to yet we studied about charge, the introductory part of electrostatics. Now we start with the quantitative study of electrostatic now. That is what we begin with Coulomb's law. Actually, up to yet we have studied about the property, the theoretical part. Now it becomes the problematic, then the numerical point of view. We have 2-point charges. I'm writing here point charges. This is very important here. The charges must have very small in size, point-like. There are 2-point charges. Between them there is distance r. Then there is force of interaction. It may be attraction, it may be repulsion. That is proportionate to product of charge. That is proportionate to inverse of the square of the distance. Collectively we make them q1, q2 by r square, and there is constant k. This is small k. I am writing here small. Okay? And further I write the value of small k 1 upon 4 by epsilon naught. This is read as epsilon naught. This is a Greek letter simply, and this is its subscription. Now, we can write F equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. Epsilon naught is what? Permittivity, or say electrical permittivity of vacuum, or sometimes it is taken of air. Now listen, in this formula, force between two charges is proportionate to the product of the two charges. First thing, it is inverse of the square of the distance. That means force, if charge is increased, force increases. If distance increases, force decreases in square proportion. Collecting this, we found this, the value of constant, and we have finally the Coulomb's law formula for the Coulomb's law itself says, collectively we have F is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. This is the simplest form of Coulomb's law. Between these two charges there is 4f, distance r, epsilon naught, electrical permittivity of medium. Here I want to discuss a little about electrical permittivity. Before that, I will move further. If medium between Q1 and Q2 is changed from vacuum or air to any other medium, say charges are kept in oil. Now the medium was air or vacuum. Now the medium has become oil itself. Let oil has electrical permittivity. I read epsilon m. M stands for medium. Here it was epsilon naught. Now I am saying it is epsilon m. Then we write Fm Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon m r square. The force will get changed if the medium is changed. Now, first of all, I will drag your attention In case of gravitation, there was capital G, universal gravitation constant. That constant was universal. Wherever you go, it won't change. Now, wherever means you change the medium between two masses, the force will remain same. So, in other words, we say that force of gravity doesn't depend upon the medium. But here, the constant contains the property of the medium, its permittivity. So, if the medium is changed, the force will also get changed. So, this electrostatic force can be called that it is a medium dependent force, while gravitation force is not a medium dependent force. So that's very important thing here. Now I discuss these two. I have two formulas, then I define a new thing. I have F Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon naught r square and Fm Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon m r square. Now if I divide F by Fm, you can see very clearly, if I divide F by M1, then these two will get cancelled out. 4 pi cancelled out, r square cancelled out, and I have epsilon m by epsilon naught. Epsilon m by epsilon naught is defined further as epsilon naught r, say relative permittivity. I hope you remember as you calculated relative densities, density of substance upon density of water. You said density of mercury is 13.6, then it is actually relative to the water. If you call density of copper 8.0 without units, then 8.0 of density of copper is, that means copper is 8 times higher than water, heavier than water, the unit volume of it. So in the same way, we call it relative permittivity, or we write it capital K. Now this is capital. This is called dielectric constant. That means epsilon m upon epsilon naught is equal to capital K, and in place of epsilon naught, epsilon m, I can write K epsilon naught. This formula is very important to solve lots of numerical problems. Here I write that Fm becomes Fm Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon mr square, or you can write it Q1 Q2 upon 4 pi K epsilon naught r square. Now Q1 Q2 by 4 by epsilon naught r square, Fm is F by K. This is very important formula. If two charges experiencing force F in air or vacuum, then in any medium of dielectric constant K, the force becomes F by K. And K is always greater than 1. Keep in mind, because epsilon m upon epsilon naught is K, and epsilon m is the permittivity of medium, and this is permittivity of vacuum, where is nothing. Now this will remain always higher, and epsilon naught by epsilon m by epsilon naught means value of K will always be greater than 1. Well, let's take an example. There are two charges, Q1, Q2. I give value Q1 6 microcoulomb, Q2 is 10 microcoulomb. The distance between them, D, say it is 20 meters. Okay? find first part, find force between them. B part, if they kept in a medium of K, dielectric constant is equal to force. K equals to 4. Find the force now. And this is a question. You can try it. Then and now you can even pause my video. I'm solving it. First part, F equals to 1 upon 4 by epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by D square. 6 microcoulomb, 10 microcoulomb, 20 meters. Now first of all, let me tell you the value of 1 by 4 by epsilon naught, 9 into 10 is per 9. Unit I'll discuss later. The value of 1 by 4 by epsilon naught is 9 into 10 is per 9. I'll discuss about value also. It is 9 into 10 is per 9. Q1 is 6 microcoulomb. Q2 is say 10 microcoulomb. Distance is 20 meters, 20 square 400. Now the value of F is 36 into 36 by 40. 10 is per 9 minus 6 plus 1 minus 2. It comes 9 by 10. 9 plus 1, 10 minus 2. 10 to minus 4 or 9 into 10 per minus 5. I can call 90 into 10 per minus 6, 90 micronewton. Because it is 90 micronewton, right? Now, what was the value of K? Then force in the medium becomes F by K. Force in the medium is F by K. Now divide 90 by the value of K, you will get the answer. Now I give a different type of question. I'll half the code I'll use for the question, half for solution. There are two charges. Q1, Q2, distance between them is D. There is force F naught presently. Okay? I'm giving in symbolic form the question. Now, this is case first. Case second. Between them, now medium is changed. It has dielectric constant K is equal to 60. Q1, Q2. Definitely force will get changed. If I place them in a different medium, the force will get changed. But this time, our requirement is, the question is, what should be the value of distance D dash now, so that the force remains the same. Now look what I'm asking. This case second means F naught is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by D square. At this time force is say Fm 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught into K Q1 Q2 D dash square. But it is required that the force must remain same. Then definitely we can change what? This distance D, and what should be the value of D new value d dash so that the force remains same. That means if I equate Fm to F0, then 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught k q1 q2 d dash square 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 d square. This all cancelled out. We have k d dash square is equal to d square. D dash is d by root k. K is what, 16, then d dash will become d by 4. This is another important question regarding Coulomb's law, right? After that, we come to a very important point of Coulomb's law that makes lots of students, I have seen in my career that students get stuck up here in the next point, vector law of Coulomb's, vector form of Coulomb's law. Right here, vector form of Coulomb's law. I start this topic with a simple situation. I won't draw that there are two charges and all this. Look here carefully. I take one charge q1 at origin, another charge q2 at some point p. There is vector r. So distance between these two is mod of r. Now force between these two charges in scalar form is this 4 pi epsilon naught r square. One more thing. If I want to put vector sign here, I want to discuss about the direction of force, then definitely this interactive force will be along this way or in this way. Means in both cases it will be along the line joining, but once if there is attraction, then they may be coming towards each other. If repulsion, they will be moving away. Means the force can be in plus r cap direction or in minus r cap direction. I hope you know unit vector indicates only direction. So plus r cap is direction from O to P and minus r cap from P to O. Got it? The direction of r cap is O to P minus r cap in this way. If I simply do this thing, I put r cap here. R cap is a unit vector, has no unit, no dimension, it indicates only direction. Then in itself it completes our purpose. If both charges are positive or both negative, then this whole term will always remain positive. Then F will work plus along plus r cap, repulsion. It is true. If the charges are dissimilar, one positive, another negative, then this quantity will become negative and force will become along negative r cap. Got it? Repulsion. This is the simplest form, vector form of Coulomb's law. Well, sometimes it can be turned in this way also. If we move a bit further, this is the fundamental formula I write. F is this scalar form and this is vector form. This is the fundamental form. I talk about it when I come to second example. If there are two charges Q2, Q, this is R1, this is R2. Now look, the position of Q1 has changed. Now it is not origin, it is at some point A. Now for Q1, this is origin. from Q1 to Q2 I take vector R, position of 2 with respect to 1, R21. The same formula which I use for the taking Q1 at origin, then that distance, direct distance used to matter here also. That means, what should I say? F21 Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon. In that case it was only R, now it is R21 square R21 cap. Now it becomes simpler for you. Now we need to discuss only about this R21. Look at this triangle OAB. This R1 plus R21 is equal to R2. R1 plus R21 is equal to this. R21 R2 minus R. And R21 cap. R21 vector upon R21 mod. And it is R2 minus R1 upon R2 minus R1 mod. If I expand this, then it becomes F21 Q1 Q2 upon 4 pi epsilon R21 square. I write here R21 square. R21 is R21 cap is R21 upon R21 mod. Then it becomes Q1 Q2 4 pi epsilon naught R21 upon R21 mod Q. I hope you understand that this R21 is mod of R21. Now I write in detailed way. R21 is what? R2 minus R1 upon. This becomes denominator R2 minus R1 mod Q. This is the formula for the force in vector form. Of course, we'll have to take a good example here. Then we can understand it clearly. Here it is written. Now take an example. This is charge Q1, say 10 microcoulomb. This Q2 is also say 20 microcoulomb. Its position is 2, 8, 10. Its position say 12, 8, 10. Okay. Its position is 8, 4, 20. Whatever value you can take, I am just taking at random. Now we are supposed to find the force. Now there are two sections of this question. This section and this one. Now need to solve this section separately. That will become easier. Here this is R1 and this is R2. Now R1 is what? 12 I cap plus 8 j cap plus 10 k. And R2 is 8 I cap plus 4 j cap plus 20 k cap. Now R2 minus R1. It is minus 4 I cap minus 4 j cap plus 10 k. We have solved R2 minus R1. Now to take mod of it. R2 minus R1 mod. Root of 4 square plus 4 square plus 10 square. 4 square 16, 4 square 16, 10 square 100. It becomes root of 132. This is R2 minus R1 and this is R2 minus R1 mod. And here I calculate Q1 Q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Q1 Q2 20 into 10 10 is power minus 12 micro 9 into 10 is power 9. It becomes 180 10 is power minus 2 1.8. So what should be the final answer? F in vector form, this comes 1.8 and this is minus 4 a cap minus 4 j cap plus 10 k cap upon root of 130. We can further solve it. This is the vector form of this, goes between these two charges. Nothing to do, it's not a big deal. In vector form there will be complexity. No, it is not. Start from, as I started from the taking Q1 at origin, Q2 at another point. Now shift them at different points. Then the formula is same. No need to entangle in as much as vector form is complicated. Usually I have seen students have panic regarding this. The vector form of Coulomb's law is tough, it's difficult. No, it's simple. Now, I come to superposition principle. This is very important principle, superposition. It is used in lots of places in physics as well as in chemistry also and in mathematics also. What superposition principle means, let me explain you by a simple example. Or simply I state it. This superposition principle says, if there is some charge Q0, there is charge Q1, and there is some force between them. Okay, that is F01 between these two charges. Now I place another charge. Then there will be a different force from Q2 to Q0, that is F02. But this presence of Q2 will not affect this F01, means the interaction of Q1 to Q0. You will say it's a very common thing. Now the net force becomes F01 plus F02 vectors. If you extend it more, you add another charge Q3, then there arises F03, interaction of Q3 and Q0, F01 interaction of Q1, Q0, F02 interaction of Q2 and Q0, F03 interaction of Q3 and Q0. Then this will become F03. If you introduce Q4, then I will introduce here and it will move so on up to F0n. Right? I have charge Q0. Around there charges are Q1, Q2, Q3, Qn. Now net force on Q0 is F01, F02, F03, F04, vector sum of all the charges individually. They exert, then they take vector sum of it, and then we get final force. Now you may say it's very common. How does it make difference? This is very clear, of course. At once it looks, yes, of course it must happen, but let me tell you where it doesn't happen. Then you will understand. The basic concept of superposition principle is normally misunderstood by the students. that there is vector sum of all the forces. No, it's not a single here. This term is sufficient. I must say, if there was only Q1 and Q2, there was a kind of interaction between Q1 and Q0. Sorry, Q1 and Q0. Sorry, there was an interaction of between them Q1 and Q0. There was a particular kind of interaction. When Q2 is introduced, then Q2 does its own work on Q0. But it doesn't make any difference between the interaction of Q1 and Q0. Q2 performs its own work itself. It has nothing to do what Q1 is doing with Q0. In the same way, Q3, Q2, if presence of Q3 is not altering any conversation between Q2, Q0, Q1, Q0. Now you will say that's also that also. Now take a good example of it. A and B are two friends. There is a certain kind of relationship between them. Let's suppose you are studying with someone in class 10th, you are good friends. In class 11th you come. A third person, C, comes, who becomes friend to A and friend to B also. Now definitely there is very sure that now the interaction of A and B, the level or strength or whatever of friendship between A and B will definitely get changed. It may get strengthened, it may add up new values, or it may get decreased also. So, the presence of C affects the relation between A and B, or affects the interaction between these two. I call it FAB. In absence of C, it had another shape. In presence of C, now it has another shape. So, on human being, this principle of superposition is not applicable. Now, what is principle of superposition? Look carefully. If there are two entities having some interaction between them, and a third entity when enters, and it doesn't change the interaction between those two quantities, then we say there the superposition principle can be applied. In the previous case, Q0 interacting with Q1, it had force F01. When Q2 came, it had additional F02. Then if these two, Q2 is not interfering with Q1, Q0, then we can add up vectorially all the forces. But if there would have been like this, there is friendship FAB between A and B. Now there is FAC.